Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a place so stunning, it feels uh, almost like paradise on earth. We're talking about the northeast of India, right?
Yeah.
Specifically the state of Meghalaya. It's a region that doesn't just live up to its name, the abode of clouds. It is that place. Picture this. Rolling green hills
Yeah.
that seem to physically touch the clouds.
Uh,
There's this like perpetual mist hanging in the air, creating this really mystical ambiance.
it's incredible scenery.
And then you've got these crystal clear rivers. They're so pure, they glow this almost surreal shade of turquoise, winding through these dense ancient forests.
Beautiful.
And to top it all off, spectacular waterfalls, not just one or two, but hundreds, plunging hundreds of feet into these deep, sort of mysterious ravines. Their roar is this constant backdrop to the landscape.
Yeah, it's a place where the earth itself feels incredibly alive, doesn't it? Vibrant. Nature's raw, untamed beauty just leaves you absolutely speechless sometimes. And it's precisely that kind of breathtaking landscape that draws visitors, from all corners of the globe. Meghalaya is a destination people seek out specifically to find peace, to escape the relentless chaos of city life, and maybe above all, to create lifelong memories.
Right.
It's the quintessential spot for quiet contemplation, for adventure, and definitely for romance. Think of it as this natural sanctuary, a true haven, where time seems to slow right down, allows for deep connection, whether that's with nature, with yourself, or, with a loved one.
And for newlyweds Ankita Sharma and Rohit Malhotra, this pristine vision wasn't just a backdrop, it was exactly the stage they pictured for the start of their new life together. Their honeymoon trip to Meghalaya wasn't just any vacation, right? It was supposed to be the start of a brand new chapter, the very first brushstroke on the canvas of their shared future.
A perfect holiday.
A perfect holiday, marking the beginning of their life as a married couple in one of India's most romantic, most naturally enchanting destinations.
But what's truly unsettling about this story is how swiftly, how brutally that idyllic dream just unraveled, and how utterly deceptive initial appearances can be.
Yeah.
Because within mere days of arriving in this paradise, the tranquil beauty of Meghalaya would horrifyingly morph into a nightmarish crime scene. And Kita, just 26 years old, would be found dead, her body battered and lifeless at the bottom of a ravine.
God.
And the man she had married just weeks earlier, Rohit Malhotra, the one who had sworn to cherish and protect her, the one who was supposed to be her partner for life, he would stand accused of her murder.
And that's why today we're taking a meticulous deep dive into the layers of this tragic event. We're going to try and peel back the facade, piece by chilling piece. Our mission here is to understand how such profound beauty, the kind that Meghalaya so abundantly offers, could hide such, well, unimaginable darkness. This isn't just a story about a crime for you listening. It's about the shocking unraveling of a carefully constructed illusion, about how the most intimate of relationships can conceal the most sinister motives. We're going to scrutinize every detail, no matter how small, because in this case, those details prove to be absolutely everything.
Indeed. We'll be meticulously exploring the full story of what became known as the Meghalaya honeymoon murder, dissecting every minute detail, every subtle clue that transformed what was meant to be a romantic getaway into a devastating crime scene. The focus here really will be on the critical observations and findings, the details that built what became an undeniable case.
Okay, so let's begin by understanding the individuals at the heart of this story, the people who are supposed to be embarking on this joyful new chapter. Our first protagonist is Ankita Sharma. She was 26 years old, a young woman who grew up in the bustling heart of Delhi, daughter of a retired army officer.
Right.
And by all accounts, she was a truly vibrant soul, someone who just filled every room she entered with light and laughter, Friends and family remembered her as genuinely full of life, describing her as bright, warm, and, well, endlessly kind. She wasn't just kind. She possessed this deep zest for life, an insatiable curiosity that really fueled her passion for travel and adventure.
Sounds like a wonderful person.
Absolutely. For her, marrying Rohit Malhotra didn't just feel like a union. It genuinely felt like the beginning of something wonderful, a thrilling new adventure in itself. And she embarked on this new chapter with, palpable optimism and unbridled joy. She was someone who embraced life fully, and her marriage seemed like another exciting horizon.
And then we have Rohit Malhotra. He was 31, a businessman from a prominent, wealthy family in Delhi. On the surface, he presented a very polished, very reassuring image. He was seen as well-educated, charming, and came from a background that, to many, certainly promised stability.
Right, security.
Security, exactly. A comfortable future. To outsiders looking in, particularly during social events and in the lead up to their wedding, it seemed like a match of, complementary strengths and promising futures, a pairing that sort of epitomized success and happiness. His seemingly solid background and outwardly agreeable demeanor really contributed significantly to that perception of a perfect union.
And their wedding. It wasn't just some quiet affair tucked away. No, this was a grand, elaborate event. A public declaration of their love and commitment,
Yeah.
attended by hundreds of guests from both these prominent families. It was the kind of wedding that defines a social season, you know? An event splashed across all the circles. The pictures from the wedding, in fact, didn't just get seen. They actually went viral on social media. You know the kind Ankita in her dazzling red lehenga looking absolutely radiant, just glowing with happiness.
Mhm.
And Rohit looking every bit the proud groom, beaming beside her, almost perfectly embodying the ideal husband figure.
So, here you have this seemingly perfect couple. Their love story meticulously curated and splashed across social media, celebrated by so many. From every angle, every photo, it truly looked like a fairy tale beginning.
Something right out of a romantic movie signifying, a lifetime of happiness ahead.
Yeah, that visual narrative of their wedding, widely shared across various social platforms, it created this undeniable impression of a blissful union. It projected an image of absolute perfection and happiness to the wider world. An image that, well, in hindsight, becomes particularly poignant, doesn't it? Because of its stark contrast with the reality that would soon emerge.
Absolutely.
This public display of affection and apparent stability would later serve to complicate initial understandings of the tragedy.
So just 3 weeks after this elaborate celebration, while the echoes of wedding bells were, still fresh, they embarked on their honeymoon. And Ankita had a clear dream destination in mind, Meghalaya. She had always dreamed of visiting this place, specifically Cherrapunji.
Ah, Cherrapunji. Known for its rain, but also incredible beauty.
Exactly. It isn't just known for beauty generally, but renowned for its stunning natural beauty, record rainfall, and truly hidden gems, those living root bridges, ancient caves, incredible waterfalls.
Right.
Rohit seemingly agreed to this choice,
Yeah.
maybe swayed by her enthusiasm or perhaps just aligning with the popular notion of a romantic getaway spot.
And the couple's journey itself was, well, it was a testament to the allure of the destination. It highlights the deliberate planning behind this trip. They flew from Delhi, the bustling capital, to Guwahati, which serves as the nearest major airport gateway to the northeast.
Right.
From Guwahati, they then drove down to Shillong, Meghalaya's picturesque capital city, often called the Scotland of the East for its rolling hills and misty landscapes.
Right, I've heard that.
And from Shillong, they continued their journey further into the heart of Meghalaya to their final destination, Cherrapunji. This place is internationally famous, not just for its torrential rains, but for its towering waterfalls and mystical, almost ethereal landscapes, like the iconic Seven Sisters Falls and the Wei Sadong Falls.
Ah.
This detailed travel itinerary paints a picture of a meticulously planned escape into nature's embrace. It really sets the scene for what should have been an unforgettable, beautiful experience.
It certainly sounds like an idyllic start, doesn't it? A dream honeymoon in a dream location, perfectly crafted for romance and adventure. And for the first 3 days of their trip, that illusion of perfection seemed to hold firm, at least from the outside. Ankita, true to her generation and her vibrant personality, meticulously documented their trip on Instagram. She posted dozens of updates, a constant stream of snapshots of their journey, posing on the famous living root bridges, those incredible natural formations woven by centuries of human ingenuity and natural growth.
Amazing structures.
Yeah. She shared photos boating on the impossibly crystal-clear Daki River where the boats seemed to float on air, marveling at the majestic Seven Sisters Falls, that cascade of 7 different streams plunging down a sheer cliff. Each post, each picture, was carefully curated to show a couple deeply in love, enjoying every moment of their romantic adventure, portraying the quintessential happy honeymoon.
But this exhaustive digital footprint, while painting a public picture of bliss, truly highlights the dichotomy, doesn't it, between curated online appearances and the underlying realities. What did these dozens of posts truly represent beneath the surface? That's the question.
Right.
When police later reviewed these seemingly innocent photos as part of their investigation, they noticed something undeniably odd. A subtle yet crucial detail that began to unravel the narrative. Rohit rarely appeared in them.
That is odd for a honeymoon.
Very odd. While Ankita's captions were upbeat and positive, designed for public consumption, full of effusive declarations, this striking absence of her husband in the frames started to raise a quiet yet persistent question mark for investigators. It's a small detail, isn't it? But one that begins to speak volumes about the true nature of their interaction, or maybe the lack thereof, during what should have been a period of intense closeness.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The power of subtle details. And it's not just the police. Friends, observing from afar, also noted subtle signs that something might have been off, despite Ankita's outwardly cheerful online presence. Now, the source doesn't go into specific examples, but you can imagine, right, what these subtle signs might imply.
Maybe a slight change in tone.
Yeah, maybe it was a delay in response to a message that would usually be answered instantly, or a brief, almost imperceptible shift in her tone during a quick video call. Perhaps her usual flurry of spontaneous posts slowed down, or the subjects of her stories felt a little too perfectly curated, lacking her usual candid joy.
Right, almost too perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are the tiny red flags that, while maybe not enough to trigger immediate alarm in the moment, in hindsight, they just scream volumes about an underlying unease, a feeling that perhaps the reality didn't quite match the Instagram narrative. These are the small cracks in the facade that are almost imperceptible until tragedy illuminates them.
And this raises an important question. How much can we infer from body language and interpersonal dynamics, especially when things feel strained but not overtly confrontational? The hotel staff, who had this unique vantage point of observing the couple up close during their stay, later provided recollections that further emphasized this undercurrent of discord.
Okay, what did they see?
They specifically recalled Ankita as being consistently enthusiastic and quite talkative, engaging with them, seemingly genuinely enjoying her surroundings, radiating a positive energy.
But the contrast with Rohit was striking, and this became a crucial detail for the investigation, didn't it?
Absolutely. The staff observed that he appeared quite distant, often preoccupied on his phone, almost disengaged from their shared experience. They noted that while the couple weren't openly fighting, no shouting matches or anything like that, there was an undeniable tension between them. Something felt strained.
Strained. That's a telling word.
It is. It was less about overt conflict, like shouting or arguing, and more about a pervasive coolness, a lack of the easy intimacy, the shared laughter, or the simple physical closeness you'd expect from newlyweds on their honeymoon.
Right.
This detail, gathered from unbiased third-party observers who had no stake in the couple's relationship, adds another significant layer to the emerging narrative that the perfect honeymoon was perhaps far from it in reality, hiding a deeper, unsettling dynamic.
These subtle observations, when you put them together, they begin to chip away at that initial facade of a perfect romantic getaway, revealing a dynamic that was, at best, uncomfortable, and at worst, well, potentially indicative of deeper issues bubbling beneath the surface.
Exactly. It underscores the importance of looking beyond what is immediately presented, whether online or through initial impressions, and recognizing that even in the most picturesque settings, hidden disharmony can exist. These small observations, when aggregated, start to form a pattern that contradicts that public narrative.
And then we come to the moment that irrevocably shattered this illusion, the moment of truth. On the fourth day of their honeymoon, the couple set out to visit a remote area near the Wasadong Falls. This is a place known for its multi-tiered cascades, right? Requires a bit of a trek to reach, a path that winds through dense foliage and can be quite secluded.
Definitely more isolated.
So imagine this remote, beautiful spot, the sound of rushing water, the vibrant green of the forest, the mist in the air. It's the perfect backdrop for a romantic memory, a quiet moment of connection in nature's grandeur. Or, chillingly, a place of profound isolation, making it ideal for something far darker to occur unnoticed.
Indeed. The choice of such a secluded and physically challenging location becomes highly significant given what ultimately transpired. It's an environment where a true accident could tragically occur due to the rugged terrain, absolutely, but it also offers a degree of isolation that can be a critical element in the commission of a crime. Providing privacy, minimizing the chance of immediate intervention or observation, this dual nature of the location would prove pivotal.
Following the tragedy, Rohit's initial statement to the authorities provided a very detailed, seemingly consistent account of what he claimed happened. He told police, "We were walking along the trail when Ankita suddenly slipped. The path was muddy and she fell into a ravine. I tried to reach her, but I couldn't. I panicked and ran for help."
Right, the standard accident narrative.
Exactly. He appeared visibly shaken, distraught, repeating over and over that it was a tragic accident. A desperate plea for understanding and sympathy, you could say. This was his carefully constructed public narrative, his explanation for the horrific event, designed to deflect any suspicion.
However, the immediate aftermath of such an event often presents the first opportunity for inconsistencies to emerge, and this case was certainly no exception. When local rescuers, people familiar with the terrain and usually swift in their response, arrived on the scene, they quickly located Ankita's body.
How far down was she?
She was found approximately 60 feet down the ravine, a significant and perilous fall.
60 feet. Wow.
The initial examination of her body by the first responders revealed she had sustained multiple injuries, the most severe and immediately apparent being a skull fracture, a detail that immediately indicated a violent impact.
And right away, the Meghalaya police, with their experience in these kinds of remote investigations, they weren't fully convinced by Rohit's distraught yet consistent story.
You have to be skeptical.
You do. They are trained to look beyond initial appearances, beyond what is immediately presented and the immediate emotional display. Something about the scene, something about the situation just didn't add up for them.
That gut feeling.
That gut feeling, an intuitive sense that this wasn't a straightforward accident. That initial police skepticism, fueled by subtle discrepancies, became the critical first step in what would become a complex and ultimately revealing investigation. Their refusal to just accept the obvious narrative was paramount here.
And this is often where truly effective investigations begin, isn't it? Not just with what's presented, but with what doesn't quite fit the obvious narrative. Those small details that nag at an experienced investigator's mind. That initial police skepticism, a trained eye for inconsistencies, and a willingness to question the most apparent explanations becomes paramount in redirecting the focus. From a presumed accident to a potential crime, allowing for a deeper, more rigorous forensic examination to actually commence.
And as the investigation got properly underway, the forensic experts turned their meticulous attention to the fall site itself. This is precisely where the narrative of a simple slip began to unravel under incredibly close scrutiny, where the smallest details spoke volumes.
Right, the physical evidence at the scene.
They conducted a thorough, painstaking examination, searching for any signs that would corroborate Rohit's story, any indication of a slip or struggle. But what they found, or rather what they didn't find, was profoundly telling.
What was missing?
There were no footprints or scuff marks in the soil that clearly indicated Ankita had slipped. If someone were to lose their footing and fall on a path, especially one described as muddy, you'd expect to see some disturbance, right?
Definitely. A scuff mark, a deeper impression.
Exactly. A scuff mark where a foot dragged, a deeper impression from a desperate attempt to regain balance. There was nothing of the sort. The ground was oddly undisturbed in the critical area.
Furthermore, and this is another crucial detail that directly contradicted Rohit's statement, the ground itself wasn't particularly wet, let alone muddy, as he had claimed.
So the condition wasn't even right for his story.
Not at all. This seemingly minor detail is incredibly important. It dismantled a key component of his accident narrative, removed the very condition he cited as the cause of the fall, and beyond that, their careful assessment of the terrain revealed that the area wasn't as treacherous or perilous as Rohit had claimed. While it was a steep drop, it wasn't a death trap where an accidental slip was an inevitable outcome. The path was well-defined enough that an alert person would likely not simply slip without some other contributing factor. These physical details at the scene, meticulously documented, directly challenged his version of events, raising the first serious questions about the authenticity of his account.
So what does this all mean for us? It means the very scene of the supposed accident is starting to tell a different story, a narrative that fundamentally contradicts the one Rohit was so eager to provide. It shifted the focus decisively from an unfortunate misstep to something potentially far more sinister, painting the initial picture of maybe a staged event. The ground itself became a silent, damning witness.
And if the fall site provided the first set of concrete doubts, the subsequent autopsy report deepened the suspicions significantly, providing irrefutable medical evidence. The medical findings were critical.
Okay, the autopsy, what did it show?
Ankita's injuries didn't match the pattern one would typically expect from a simple, uncontrolled fall down a ravine, even one of 60 feet. While a fall from that height would certainly cause severe injuries, the specific nature and distribution of her trauma were inconsistent with a straightforward, passive tumble down a slope. This is a key distinction that forensics experts look for.
That's a profound shift in perspective. What kind of injuries are we talking about here? because that's where the granular details really become chilling and tell a different story about the immediate moments before the fall.
Well, she had multiple blunt force trauma wounds specifically on her back and arms.
Back and arms, not just impacts from landing.
Exactly. Think about that for a moment. If someone slips and falls, injuries are often distributed, chaotic, reflecting impact points during an uncontrolled descent. Scrapes, bruises on various parts of the body as they hit rocks or protrusions. But these specific injuries, particularly to her back and arms, are highly indicative. Injuries to the back can suggest she was pushed or struck from behind or sustained trauma while being propelled forward. And injuries to the arms, especially on the forearms or outer parts, are often classic defensive wounds, sustained when a person raises their arms to ward off blows or protect themselves from an assault.
Oh, wow. Defensive wounds?
Yes, this pattern strongly suggested she might have been assaulted before the fall, potentially while struggling or attempting to defend herself rather than just passively tumbling. The medical details are paramount here. They fundamentally transform the narrative from an unfortunate slip to a deliberate and violent act.
That one detail, those specific injuries, fundamentally reshapes our entire understanding of what happened in that ravine. It means the ravine wasn't just where she landed, it might have been where a struggle concluded, or where she was deliberately propelled.
Precisely.
And as if the physical evidence wasn't enough, investigators also scrutinized Rohit's timeline of events following the alleged accident. And that, too, didn't make any logical sense to a trained eye. He claimed to have immediately run for help after Ankita's fall, right? Portraying himself as this frantic, desperate husband in distress, seeking urgent assistance for his injured wife.
Yet the reality of his movements, meticulously tracked by the investigators, flatly contradicted this panicked narrative. It took him nearly 90 minutes to reach the nearest outpost from the site of the alleged fall.
90 minutes.
90 minutes. Host. 90 minutes. For a frantic husband whose wife has just plunged 60 feet into a ravine, that's an eternity in a crisis. What does that kind of delay suggest to seasoned investigators, especially when every second counts in a medical emergency?
Precisely. A 90-minute delay is a significant red flag. In such a high-stakes, panic-inducing situation, the natural human response is to seek help as quickly, as desperately, as physically possible. Every second counts when someone has sustained such a severe fall.
Absolutely.
This unusually long time for the distance he had to cover suggested a deliberate pause, a period where he might have been doing something else entirely. Perhaps he was meticulously planning his next move, orchestrating his accident story, or maybe ensuring the scene aligned with his narrative before anyone else arrived.
It's highly unnatural.
Highly unnatural, and it immediately raises serious questions about his immediate actions after Ankita went over the edge, implying a chilling calculation rather than a genuine panic.
So if the physical evidence at the scene, the pattern of injuries, and the timeline all contradicted Rohit's story, then what was the underlying motive? Because that's the next and often most critical piece of the puzzle investigators seek.
Right, the why.
As police dug deeper into Rohit's life, moving beyond that public facade, a series of deeply troubling details, ones he had clearly worked tirelessly to keep hidden, began to emerge. It became startlingly clear that he was not the successful, stable businessman he presented himself to be. He was, in fact, in significant and desperate financial trouble.
Ah, okay.
His business, which had seemed to promise stability and success to his family and to Ankita, had suffered heavy, crippling losses in the preceding months.
Okay, let's unpack this crucial point about motive. Often, when we're trying to understand a heinous crime, we look for pressure points, right? And financial desperation can be a colossal one, pushing individuals to unthinkable acts when they feel trapped. The outline mentioned heavy losses, but to put it in context, how deep was this financial hole he was in?
Well, he wasn't just experiencing minor setbacks or, a bad quarter. He was under immense pressure to repay significant accumulating debts that far outstripped his dwindling business assets.
So it's a serious
A
debt.
very serious debt. This level of financial desperation often serves as a powerful motivator in cases of extreme behavior, driving individuals to desperate measures to escape their crushing burdens. What's particularly striking here is how this hidden financial strain stands in stark, almost unbelievable contrast to the public image of a wealthy, successful businessman who had just thrown an elaborate, expensive wedding.
Yeah, the illusion he maintained was
It
extraordinary.
really was.
Yeah. And it gets even more chilling when you connect this financial distress to another profoundly disturbing discovery made by the investigators: a life insurance policy.
Oh, yes, the policy.
This wasn't just any policy. Its timing and beneficiaries were incredibly suspicious.
And what's truly unsettling here is the precise timing of this policy update. Just weeks, not months, but weeks before the honeymoon, Ankita had updated her life insurance policy.
Weeks before.
Weeks. The policy was worth a substantial euro 1.2 crore, which, for context, is a significant sum of money, equivalent to millions of rupees. It represents a major financial windfall. And critically, she had named Rohit as the sole beneficiary.
The sole beneficiary.
This adds a cold, calculated layer to the potential motive, transforming the crime from a spontaneous act of violence to one of chilling premeditation. The proximity of the policy update to the honeymoon and subsequently to Ankita's death is not easily dismissed as mere coincidence. It suggests a carefully laid plan designed to leverage her death for his financial gain.
That timing is absolutely damning, isn't it? It suggests not just a motive, but a cold, calculated plan that was already in motion. But the digital evidence would make that plan horrifyingly explicit, removing any lingering doubt about his intent.
Phone records.
Exactly. Investigators seized Rohit's phone, a device that often holds the most private and revealing truths about an individual. And what they found in his search history was, frankly, beyond alarming. These weren't just curious questions or general inquiries. They were chillingly specific. A digital breadcrumb trail leading directly to his sinister intentions.
What did they find?
He had searched for how to push someone without leaving marks.
Oh my God!
Then can falling off a cliff be accidental?
Unbelievable.
And perhaps the most clinical and heartless of all, life insurance claim process after spouse death.
Wow.
These aren't just thoughts. They're research. It's like a meticulously researched roadmap to a crime laid bare by his own digital footprint, revealing a mind actively engaged in planning murder and profiting from it.
These search queries aren't merely incriminating. They suggest a disturbing level of premeditation and an active exploration of methods to commit a crime while attempting to evade detection. The directness and specificity of these questions removes any ambiguity about his intent and what he was contemplating.
It really does.
The search for how to push someone without leaving marks reveals a chilling focus on concealing the true nature of the act, directly linking to the forensic findings of pre-fall trauma. The query about accidental falls shows his attempt to craft a believable narrative. And the life insurance claim process lays bare the ultimate financial motive. It's a terrifying window into a chillingly calculating mindset that sought to profit from murder while attempting to disguise it as an accident.
And if the search history wasn't enough to seal his fate, the police also uncovered WhatsApp messages Rohit had exchanged with a close friend. These messages weren't explicit admissions of murder, but they contained cryptic hints, veiled discussions, subtly hinting at plans to solve his problems once and for all.
That kind of coded language.
Exactly. That kind of coded language, often used to obscure illicit intentions, combined with everything else they'd uncovered, painted a very grim and deeply incriminating picture. The digital trail became undeniable.
So, taken together, the severe financial distress he was under, the perfectly timed and substantial life insurance policy naming him as sole beneficiary, the damning and precise search history from his personal phone, and these cryptic WhatsApp messages. It creates a coherent and deeply disturbing narrative of a calculated, financially motivated plot. The web of deceit becomes undeniable through these digital trails, leaving virtually no room for an alternative explanation.
No room at all.
Each detail, on its own perhaps dismissible when placed alongside the others, creates an unassailable case for premeditation and motive.
But sometimes, a single human voice, a first-hand account, can cut through all the technical data, all the digital footprints, and really bring a case into sharp, horrifying focus, injecting a raw, undeniable truth.
The witness.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened here. The breakthrough moment, the crucial piece that seemed to snap everything into chilling place, came when a local villager, someone living near the Way Saldong Falls, stepped forward, his conscience compelling him to speak.
This truly raises an important question about the profound power of direct human observation, doesn't it? Especially when it aligns perfectly with otherwise circumstantial, albeit compelling, evidence. The villager's testimony provided crucial, undeniable insight into the couple's dynamic in the moments immediately leading up to the tragedy.
What did he say he saw?
He claimed he had seen the couple arguing loudly near the trail, not subtly but vociferously, just hours before Ankita's body was found.
Arguing loudly. So much for the perfect honeymoon.
Exactly. This directly contradicted Rohit's portrayal of a loving, harmonious honeymoon and his desperate insistence that everything had been perfectly normal until the accident.
And what he heard from that argument was even more crucial. delivering a devastating blow to Rohit's defense.
What did he hear?
The villager told investigators, in a statement that just sends shivers down your spine, that he distinctly heard the woman, Ankita, saying something like, "Please don't do this."
Oh, God. Please don't do this.
Think about that for a moment. This wasn't just a casual disagreement or a lover's spat. It was a desperate plea, an utterance filled with fear and dread, begging for a reprieve. Right before she went missing, right before her body was found battered at the bottom of a ravine, this chilling quote provided the crucial human confirmation of the violence that was unfolding.
This direct quote, captured by an independent witness who had nothing to gain or lose, provides powerful, irrefutable corroboration for the investigators' suspicions. It aligns perfectly with the forensic evidence of pre-fall trauma, those blunt force injuries to her back and arms, and with the damning digital footprint indicating malicious intent. Suddenly, the entire fragmented picture of evidence becomes horrifyingly clear. This witness testimony, combined with the meticulous forensic evidence from the fall site and the body, and the damning digital trail from Rohit's phone, it painted a chilling, undeniable picture of premeditated murder. It created a coherent narrative that could not be refuted. Suddenly, all those disparate pieces of information, the forensic details showing she didn't just slip but was likely assaulted, the strange 90-minute delay in Rohit's timeline, the alarming search history, the blatant financial motive, and now this first-hand account of a desperate plea, they all snapped into place, forming an undeniable, coherent narrative of a calculated crime. The conclusion was tragically, undeniably clear. Ankita's death was likely no accident.
No.
It was the horrific result of a deliberate, violent act orchestrated by the very man who vowed to protect her. Every single detail, no matter how minor it might have seemed in isolation, contributed to this devastating conclusion. It's a powerful demonstration of how seemingly disconnected pieces of information, when meticulously compiled, analyzed, and presented, can form an irrefutable argument for justice. The convergence of physical evidence, digital data, and direct human testimony created an unassailable case, leaving very little, if any, room for doubt in the minds of those reviewing the evidence. It showcased the triumph of detailed, systematic investigation.
And with that overwhelming body of evidence meticulously compiled and logically presented, the Meghalaya police moved swiftly and arrested Rohit Malhotra. He was charged with premeditated murder, given the clear indications of planning and intent. However, despite the mounting undeniable evidence against him, Rohit maintained his innocence, steadfastly insisting that Ankita's death was nothing more than a tragic, unforeseeable accident, sticking rigidly to his initial narrative, refusing to admit guilt.
But the prosecution was prepared with a formidable, airtight case. They presented a compelling narrative to the court, arguing with precision and clarity that Rohit had meticulously planned this heinous act. Their core argument was devastatingly clear. Rohit had deliberately taken Ankita to that remote, isolated spot near Waysawdong Falls and, in a cold, calculating act, pushed her into the ravine with the explicit intention of claiming her substantial life insurance money.
Laying it all out.
Every piece of evidence they presented built on this central argument, leaving the jury with little alternative.
And the evidence they presented was truly overwhelming, wasn't it? Built piece by painstaking piece, layer by chilling layer, allowing the jury to witness the unraveling of the deception in slow motion. They meticulously presented the full breadth of details that we've discussed, demonstrating how each one contradicted Rohit's story. The complete lack of slip marks at the fall site, directly refuting his claim of a muddy path and an accidental fall.
Right, debunking his core claim.
The blunt force trauma found on Ankita's body, indicating an assault before the fall, not just a simple tumble, directly challenging his narrative of an unprovoked accident. The inexplicable 90-minute delay in Rohit's timeline after the alleged accident, which clearly suggested he was doing something other than frantically running for help, showing his lack of urgency.
Furthermore, they powerfully highlighted the financial motive, detailing his heavy business losses and significant crushing debts that put immense pressure on him. The timing and the substantial value of the 1.2 crore life insurance policy updated just weeks before the honeymoon with Rohit as the sole beneficiary. That was presented as chilling proof of premeditation, a clear incentive for the crime.
Absolutely.
The damning search history entries from his phone, explicitly outlining his research into how to commit such a crime undetected and how to claim the insurance, that provided an irrefutable window into his intentions and his chilling planning. Each search query was a nail in his coffin.
And then, the WhatsApp messages hinting at solving his problems once and for all. along with the incredibly powerful, heartbreaking testimony of the local villager who heard Ankita's desperate plea of, "Please don't do this."
Hmm.
All of this together, every single detail, every piece of forensic and digital evidence, every eyewitness account, was meticulously woven into a devastatingly coherent story, leaving the jury with an undeniable portrait of premeditated murder.
This entire prosecution strategy served as a masterful demonstration of how disparate pieces of information, when rigorously compiled, meticulously analyzed for their interconnections, and presented with clarity and impact, can form an irrefutable argument for justice. The prosecution's success lay not just in having the evidence, but in connecting all these threads into a singular, undeniable narrative of intent and execution, leaving little room for doubt in the minds of the jury.
And when the jury heard all of this, all these meticulous details and the undeniable narrative they created, they were convinced. Rohit Malhotra was found guilty of premeditated murder. He was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment, bringing a measure of justice, however painful and incomplete, to Ankita's devastated family. The verdict closed the chapter, but the reverberations continued.
The verdict powerfully underscored the collective weight and crucial importance of forensic evidence, the undeniable digital footprints left behind in our modern lives, and the singular power of direct human testimony when all these elements align to expose a truth hidden beneath a carefully constructed facade of tragedy. It was a case built on the details meticulously gathered and presented.
The Meghalaya honeymoon murder truly shocked the nation. It wasn't just another crime story that faded with the headlines. It resonated deeply with people across India, sparking intense public discourse.
It really did capture public attention.
Social media exploded with debates on fundamental issues like, the very nature of trust within intimate relationships, the insidious corrupting nature of greed, and the frightening reality that even those closest to us, those we love and rely on, can harbor unimaginable darkness and sinister intentions. So what does this all mean for us, for you, listening today? This case wasn't just about a crime. It sparked a wider conversation about the vulnerabilities we often overlook, the warning signs we might dismiss, and the illusions we sometimes choose to believe.
Indeed, it forced a societal reflection on the fragility of trust and the unseen dangers that can exist in seemingly perfect scenarios, even in places that exude tranquility. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Ankita's family, devastated beyond words by their profound loss, did not let her death be in vain. They channeled their immense grief into action, transforming their sorrow into a powerful force for tangible reforms.
That's incredible strength.
It is. They became vocal advocates, pushing relentlessly for stronger safety protocols for tourists visiting remote locations like the Waisadong Falls, aiming to prevent similar tragedies from befalling other innocent travelers.
And beyond just tourist safety, they also called for significant, much-needed reforms in the life insurance sector, right?
Yes, exactly. Their aim was to introduce more stringent measures and safeguards that would prevent individuals from using policies designed for protection as a means to commit such heinous crimes for financial gain. This demonstrates how a tragedy born from such dark, calculated motives became a catalyst for systemic change, highlighting vulnerabilities within systems and assumptions that we often take for granted in our daily lives.
For many, the case served as a chilling, profound reminder that even the most beautiful places, like the serene, cloud-kissed hills of Meghalaya, can tragically hide unimaginable darkness.
It's a stark testament to the fact that appearances can be profoundly deceiving, and evil can lurk, patiently waiting beneath the most idyllic and picturesque surfaces. The beauty of the landscape could not protect Ankita from the darkness within.
Ankita's death, despite the verdict and the justice served, still leaves us with so many lingering questions, doesn't it? Questions that continue to echo. Could anyone have saved her if they had noticed the warning signs earlier? Perhaps the subtle shifts in her demeanor or the unspoken anxieties lurking beneath her bright Instagram posts.
It's impossible to know, but the questions hang there.
When she posted those smiling pictures on social media, curating that perfect honeymoon narrative, was she already in danger, putting on a brave face while fear gnawed at her, unseen by the world?
The mountains of Meghalaya are known for their breathtaking beauty, their ancient secrets. But as this case tragically proved, they also hold secrets of a far darker nature. And sometimes those secrets are more horrifying than we can ever imagine, concealed in plain sight.
And perhaps the most unsettling thought for you, our listener, to carry from this deep dive is this. Sometimes the most dangerous truths are hidden not in grand dramatic gestures or obvious confrontational conflicts, but in the subtle shifts, the uncaptured photos that reveal what's missing, or the unheard whispers and quiet observations that occur right in plain sight.
Hmm.
It's a chilling reminder that appearances can be profoundly deceiving, and the smallest details, a missing face in a photo, a strained silence, an odd delay in a timeline, a specific search query, always matter. Keep looking for those details.